In this video, we're going to talk about installment notes. These are long-term liabilities. We're going to look at how we come up with payments and how we do the accounting. In order to go through that, we need an example. We're going to use this 2020 Ford Transit 250 as our example. So we are considering purchasing this for our business, and we are going to take out a loan in order to purchase it. So this has different specifics, right, with the exterior and interior and whatnot. That doesn't really come into our accounting. What does is the cost. And so this van, if we call it a van, is listed at $39,950. If we're going to borrow some money to purchase this van, we need to know a couple of things. We need to know how much we're going to borrow, and we need to know what the interest rate is that we would be able to get. So I went out to a bank website, and this is a list of interest rates. And so it says here for 2020 and newer that the interest rate is 2.49%. The standard term is 66 months. And the monthly payment per $1,000 is $16.23. So what does this mean? Well, let's say that we are going to pay and put down $1,950. Now, I picked that simply to make the loan amount a very easy number. So if we put down $1,950, that means that we have to borrow $38,000 for this purchase. The purchase would be for 66 months according to this bank's terms. And so how much would our monthly payment be? Well, the monthly payment is per $1,000. So since there are 38,000, that would be 38. Okay, 38 divided by 1,000. 38,000, I should say, divided by 1,000 gives us 38. We multiply that times the monthly payment per $1,000, which is $16.23, and it tells us that basically our monthly payment would be $616.74. How do we come up with these numbers? Well, if you haven't yet watched it already, you need to go and watch my video on long-term liabilities. The video on long-term liabilities walks through how payments are calculated and the math that goes into it. We're not going to rehash all of that in this video. We're going to walk through an example, assuming we have some understanding of that from the previous video. So when it comes to an installment note, we have to understand a couple of things. First of all, we need to know about the principal. So we're going to put down some information here. We need to know about the principal. The principal is the original amount that you're going to borrow. So in our case, our principal amount will be $38,000. We also have to know about the rate. The interest rate, according to the bank website, is 2.49%. Again, these are usually always listed as annual percentages. If I'm going to make monthly payments, okay, on this, then I have to know what the monthly rate is. Okay? And so the monthly rate would be taking the annual rate of 2.49% and dividing it by 12 months. So if we do that, we basically get 0.208% per month. Okay? We'll come back to that after a little while. Now, the term. What is the term? Well, the term is 66 months according to the bank's website. Or, if we translated that, 5.5 years. Okay? Now, what is our payment going to be? Okay, well, according to the calculations on the website, if we use their math, we said that the payment was going to be $616.74, I believe it was. So we would then go and we would do the accounting based on this information, making our monthly payments. That gets a little complicated to do by hand. I will show you how to do that in a minute when we look at Excel and walk through how to do it with a spreadsheet software. But we're going to change this up just a little bit, and we're going to go through it as if we were making annual payments. So I'm going to box this off so we can keep some of this information handy. But we're going to go through and we're going to do this from an annual perspective. Okay? We aren't typically going to get annual payments, but it's going to help us understand how this works, and then we could apply it to a monthly scenario. So in our scenario, we're only going to change a couple of things. We are going to use the principal of $38,000. We are going to use the annual rate, and we're going to change this to be 5 years. Okay, just to make it easier. So when we go through and we do this calculation, we have to understand what our payment is. Okay, and so the math, if we did the math, would look like this. To calculate the payment, we need our math formula. The present value of our annuity is equal to the payment times the present value factor for our annuity for 5 years at 2.49%. So we're not going to be able to use a table for this because 2.49% is not going to be in the table. So we'd have to use a financial calculator or do the actual formula with the math, okay, which isn't that fun to do. So we are going to plug this information into Excel. We know that the present value of our annuity is the amount we're going to borrow, which is the $38,000. We've got to figure out the payment, and we need to know what this factor is. So in order to solve for all of this, we can just simply use Excel. It's not going to tell me the factor, but it's going to give me my answer. So what is our payment? Looking at Excel, all we have to do is find the payment formula. You can do this a couple of ways. Okay, you can hit the equal sign in a cell and type in PMT. Once you put in PMT and a parenthesis, it's going to ask you for the different things that are needed. And so our rate is what it wants first. Well, our annual rate is 2.49%. We put it in as a decimal. The number of periods, we are going to make these payments annually for 5 years. And then the present value of the loan, or the amount we're borrowing, is $38,000. Once I have all of that included, I can put my ending parenthesis on, and I can hit enter. And this tells me that my payment should be $8,177.03 per month. That is my payment. Now it puts it in parentheses simply because it's an outflow of cash, but don't worry about the formatting too much. So we go back to our page and we can put in our payment amount. $8,177.03 per month, or per year. Okay? Since we're doing this on an annual basis, it's going to make the work a little bit less easy, a little bit less difficult by hand. So I've got to create now my amortization table. So I have a column for the years. I have a column for my beginning note payable balance. I have a column for the interest expense. I have a column for the amount of principal I am repaying each time, repaid principal. I have a column for my payment, and I have my ending note payable amount. So, how many years do we have here? Okay, let's change up the color here. We have 5 years of time to pay this off. When I start, I have a note payable balance. I owe $38,000. My first payment, at the end of my first year, is going to be $8,177.03. How much of my payment is interest? Well, as we know with installment notes, each payment I make has a portion of it that is interest and a portion of it that is principal. How do I figure out the amount of expense? Well, I take my note payable balance, okay, my beginning note payable, and I multiply it times the rate. So in this case, I'm going to take my $38,000 and I'm going to multiply it by 2.49% annual interest. If I do that, I'm going to get interest expense of $946.20. So, of my $8,000 payment, $946 of it is interest, which means the rest is going to go pay off my loan, $7,230.83. These two numbers here in the middle, my interest expense and my repaid principal, have to equal my payment. Right? They comprise my payment. So, how much is left? Right? Well, how do I figure that out? I take my beginning note payable amount and I subtract my repaid principal. If that's the amount that I have paid off, then I take that away from the amount I owe. So if I do that, if I take $38,000 minus the $7,230, I am left with $30,769.17. That's what I finish year 1 with, which means that's what I start year 2 with. And so then I go on. Well, how much of my payment, which is not going to change, right, is interest in year 2? Well, I'm going to take the $30,769 and multiply it by my interest rate. If I do that, my interest expense, $766.15. My payment is $8,177. $766 of it is interest, which means that $7,410.87 is going to pay off my loan. After I get done paying off that portion of my loan, what do I have left? I have $23,358.30. That's my beginning for year 3. $23,358.30. My interest expense on that amount that's remaining is $581.62. The rest of the payment, $7,595.40, is a repayment of the amount I owe. By the time I'm done with year 3, I've paid off enough that I am down to $15,762.90. Start year 4 with $15,762.90. Multiply that times my interest rate, I get $392.50. So the remainder of my payment, $77.84.53, is a repayment of my principal. I am down to $7,978.37. When I start my last year, I owe $7,978.37. and I multiply that times my interest rate, which means my interest is $198.66, and my payment, which is still $8,177.03. The remainder of my payment, $7,978.37, is a repayment of my principal, which is the amount I owe, as you see. So when I get done, right, with that last payment, I owe nothing. So when I look at my amortization schedule here, I've got a couple columns that are important information. The payment column, right, I made 5 payments of $8,177.03, which means in total I paid $40,855.13. The amount I paid off of my original loan, right, is $38,000. That's what I should have in my repaid principal column, which means that I paid $2,885.13 in I messed that one up over here too. $40,885. $2,885. Let's make sure that's clear. $2,885 in interest. So my total payments, right, of $40,885 include $2,885 in interest. So over 5 years, borrowing $38,000, I basically had to pay the bank almost $3,000 for the use of the bank's money. So this is how we build the amortization schedule. It doesn't matter if it's annually or monthly, right? If it's monthly, then we just have a lot more rows in the schedule. Since this was done annually, I only have the 5 rows for the 5 annual payments. But what does the accounting look like? What does the accounting look like for this? So I'm going to draw a line here. We'll do the accounting. So here's our journal. Okay, at the beginning, okay, of this purchase, what am I going to do? So at the beginning, what do I do? Well, I'm going to record equipment because I purchased this vehicle, and I'm going to debit equipment for $38,000. Oops. For $39,950. I'm going to credit cash for $1,950. That was the down payment, right? And I'm going to credit notes payable for $38,000, which is the amount that I borrowed. So that's my initial journal entry. But then what do I do? Each time I make a payment, right? We're just going to put year 1 here. When I make my payment at the end of year 1, what am I going to record? Well, when I make a payment, part of that payment reduces my note payable. In year 1, the amount that reduced my note payable was $7,230.83. Where did I get that? Well, I take all of these numbers from my repaid principal column, right? Part of that payment was interest. How much was interest? Well, $946.20. Where do I get that from? Well, I take that from my interest expense column, $946.20. Then I'm going to credit cash for my payment amount, $8,177.03. So my payment amount, right, comes from the payment column. So if you see these 3 columns here, right, represent the amounts I need for my journal entries. In year 2, what do? I'm going to do the same journal entry. Note payable is going to come down. Interest expense is going to get recorded. and cash is going to be credited. What's going to happen? The numbers are simply going to change, right? My cash payment is still the same, $8,177.03. My note payable amount, the amount that my note is going to go down, the repayment of my principal, $7,410.87. And the amount of interest gets recorded is $766.15. And I would do the same, right, for year 3, year 4, and year 5. So I'm not going to do that, but those entries would remain the same, right, as far as the accounts being debited and credited. What changes each time is the amounts, because as you see, right, in each column, as you work your way down, the amounts change for principal and interest. Your payment does not change, but the amounts change for your interest and your principal. So this is what it looks like for an annual process, right? It's fairly simple in that we only have 5 rows of amortization schedule to build, which means also we only have a 1 journal entry per year to record. But in reality, most installment notes are monthly payments. So in order to look at how that works and what it looks like, we are going to go to Excel. So here we have an Excel spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet is set up to have an amortization schedule for 66 months. In the first column here, in the first cell, A1, we have the principal amount of $38,000. In the second, we have the interest rate, which is an annual interest rate, 2.49%. Dividing that by 12, we get 0.208%, which is a monthly amount. Our term is 5.5 years, or 66 months. And the payment, as calculated by Excel, is $616.68. Now, how is that calculated? Well, if you look at the formula here, the payment is calculated by taking and putting in the principal amount, the interest rate, which is on a monthly basis, and the terms on a monthly basis. So by taking in A1, A3, and A5, it will tell us the payment amount. This payment amount is a few dollars off from what we had calculated with the bank's website information, but it's not that far off. The bank's website, I believe, said it was $616.74. And so if we look at that, we say, all right, what's the difference between these two calculations? It's only 6 cents of a difference, so not a big deal, right? They're both going to kind of get us close to where we're supposed to be. So once we know the payment, which is important, that's part of our calculation, then we can build our amortization schedule. Now here, the beauty of spreadsheets. I built my amortization schedule with a column for the months, the beginning note payable for that month, the interest expense and repaid principal amounts, right, which make up our payment, as we saw in the previous example, and then the ending note payable amount. And so what do I do here? Well, if I link this to, as I did here, if I link this to A1, then it puts that in that cell for me. The interest expense, which is taking the beginning note payable amount, the blue cell here, multiplied by the monthly interest rate, which is the red highlighted cell up there, then it'll calculate it for me. My repaid principal amount, well, as we know, that's the difference between the total payment in blue and the interest expense in red. The payment, again, is pulled from the payments cell, and it fills all the way down in my spreadsheet. And my ending note payable, how do I determine it? Well, my beginning note payable was 38. The first payment takes away 537 of that, so I'm left with 37,462.17. So once you build that in and link the beginning note payable to the ending note payable of the previous month, you can drag these formulas all the way down in your spreadsheet by highlighting them, okay, and dragging them all the way down in your spreadsheet to month 66. So you don't have to input each one individually, you can drag it all the way down, which makes it very nice. So, looking at this, after all of those payments, after 66 payments, right, of $616.68, we have made total payments on this vehicle of $40,777. We borrowed $38,000, and so my total interest cost is $2,777. When we pay on a monthly basis, our outstanding balance drops more quickly than when we pay on an annual basis, which means on a monthly basis we'll end up paying less interest than we would if we paid on an annual basis. But doing a amortization schedule like this by hand, while not difficult, would be grueling and not that much fun. So it would take a lot of time too. And so we typically, in our examples in introductory accounting classes, you'll see things that are more annual based.